The first thing I notice is the light. It spills through the large window, catching the dust motes dancing in the air and warming the polished hardwood floors. A year ago, I never would have thought freedom could be a physical thing, a place you could live in. But it is. It's the scent of the lemon-scented cleaner I chose, the silence that's only broken by the hum of the refrigerator I picked out, the stack of books on the coffee table that no one will move. The doorbell chimes, a soft, pleasant sound. I open it to find a delivery man holding a burst of colora bouquet of sunflowers, lilies, and deep purple irises. For Sarah Hayes, he says, smiling, "Happy 1-year anniversary of your freedom." I take the flowers, my brow furrowed in confusion. I thank him and close the door, my fingers searching for the small card tucked among the stems. The handwriting inside is neat, precise, and completely unfamiliar. It says just one thing: you saved yourself. And in doing so, you saved me too. Thank you. There's no name, no signature, just those words. I hold the bouquet, the sweet, earthy scent filling my lungs. A year ago, I never would have thought freedom could smell so sweet. A year ago, I was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to be pushed off by the very people I called family. It all started on a Tuesday, a day that felt just like any other, until it wasn't. A year ago, my life looked very different. I came home that evening with the familiar weight of my work laptop digging into my shoulder, and a small carton of fresh strawberries in my hand. The air outside held the first crisp bite of autumn, a promise of cold fronts and shorter days. Our house, the one Ethan and I lived in with his mother and sister, was always warm, always perfectly heated, but the warmth never seemed to reach me. "I'm home," I called out, my voice swallowed by the high ceilings of the living room. No one answered. I slipped off my shoes and placed the strawberries on the kitchen island. From the corner of my eye, I saw my sister-in-law, Chloe, sprawled on the sofa, her face illuminated by the blue light of her phone. She didn't look up. At 25, her main occupation was occupying that specific cushion on the couch. From the kitchen, my mother-in-law, Karen, spoke. Her voice was clipped and cool. "As always, you're late. Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. She didn't turn around from the pot roast she was tending on the stove. There was no hello, no how was your day, just a statement of fact. This was my life. For 3 years, ever since Ethan and I got married, this had been my normal. I worked a demanding job as a project manager, and at the beginning of every month, I transferred over 2/3 of my salary to Karen's bank account for the family's savings. She'd said, "It's safer if I manage it." My husband, Ethan, had agreed. "Mom's good with money. Sarah, it's for our future." But our future never seemed to arrive. The savings account was a mythical creature I'd heard of but never seen. My money disappeared into the Miller Family Fund, which seemed to primarily finance Chloe's shopping sprees and Karen's weekly salon visits. I sighed, moving towards the sofa. That's when my gaze caught on something white sticking out from between the cushions. It was an envelope, a business envelope, thick with papers. Chloe finally looked up from her phone, her expression one of mild annoyance. "Oh, that," she said, her voice dripping with boredom. She reached into the crack of the sofa, pulled out the envelope, and tossed it onto the coffee table in front of me. It landed with a soft thud. "Mom got that from the bank today. Said you need to sign it." I picked it up. The logo of a major national bank was printed in the top left corner. An uneasy feeling began to crawl up my spine. I tore it open, my fingers suddenly feeling clumsy. The moment I unfolded the papers inside, my heart didn't just sink, it plummeted. The document was titled in large, bold letters, "Personal Loan Guarantee Agreement." My eyes scanned the page, trying to make sense of the words, but my brain felt foggy. Loan applicant, Chloe Miller. Loan amount, $800. 800,000. The number was so large it seemed fake. Then my eyes fell to the section at the bottom, guarantor's signature, and there, On the dotted line was my name, Sarah Hayes, in a script that was a clumsy imitation of my own. Next to it, taped neatly in a designated box, was a photocopy of my driver's license. What is this? My voice came out as a dry whisper. My hands started to shake violently. The carton of strawberries slipped from my grasp and hit the floor, scattering bright red fruit across the dark wood like drops of blood. Chloe finally sat up, swinging her legs off the sofa. What does it look like? It's the guarantee for my condo. Didn't Mom tell you? Tell me what? My voice was tight, strained. I don't know anything about this. Just then, Karen walked in from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. It was stained with grease from the pot roast. What are you shouting about? It's just a signature. What's the big fuss? She saw the papers in my hand and her expression didn't change. There was no guilt, no surprise, just cold, hard certainty. What's the big fuss? I held up the contract, the paper rattling in my trembling hand. This is an $800,000 loan, and my name is on it as the guarantor. My signature is forged. My ID is on here. Did you do this? Karen clicked her tongue in annoyance. Forged is such an ugly word. Sarah, Chloe needs a decent place to live. That new building by the river is perfect, but the down payment is steep. I had to take out a little loan from the bank. What's wrong with you helping out? Helping out? I felt a hysterical laugh bubble up in my throat. I slammed the contract down on the coffee table. The knuckles of my hand turned white. This isn't helping out. Karen, this is fraud. This is a $1 million loan. Do you have any idea what this means? If Chloe can't make the payments, the bank will come after me for every single penny. And why are you so sure she won't make the payments? Karen shot back, placing her hands on her hips. The apron, with its cheerful pattern of sunflowers, seemed like a cruel joke. My Chloe is about to get married. We'll find her a husband from a wealthy family. Do you think a little loan like this will be a problem for them? Besides, you and Ethan are a couple. Your money is his money, and his money is our family's money. Why are you drawing lines like a stranger? Chloe chimed in, popping a cherry into her mouth from a bowl on the end table. She's right. Sarah, you should see the apartment. The location is amazing, right next to the new transit line. The property value is going to skyrocket. What's the big deal about being a guarantor? It's not like we're asking you for the money. Not asking me for the money? The absurdity of it all made my head spin. Chloe, a guarantor has the same responsibility as the borrower. The second you miss a payment, the bank will call me. They can freeze my bank accounts, garnish my wages, even put a lien on our house. I was in my 3rd year of marriage. The house we lived in, this beautiful suburban home, had its down payment covered by my in-laws before our wedding. The deed was in Karen and Ethan's names only. My name was nowhere on it. My salary was $4,000 a month. After giving most of it to Karen, I was left with only $500 for my personal expenses. She claimed she was saving it for us. But saving it for what? To pay off a secret loan she'd taken out in my name? Lien on the house? Who are you trying to scare? Karen snatched a decorative fork from the table and pointed it at me. As long as I'm alive, I won't let anything unfair happen to you. And what about my son, Ethan? He works for a major corporation. Do you really think he can't handle a little debt? This isn't a little debt. Karen, I stared at her, my whole body buzzing with a mixture of fear and rage. When you stole my driver's license from my wallet to make this document, did you even think to ask me? Stole. Karen's voice rose, sharp and piercing. I know exactly where you keep your wallet in your purse. I just borrowed it for a minute. Is that stealing? We are a family. The word stealing doesn't exist between family. Suddenly, Chloe shot up from her seat. She threw her phone onto the sofa cushion. Mom, what's the point of talking to her? She's just jealous. She can't stand to see me living in a nice place. She's just bitter. If she had never married into our family in the first place. Chloe, you shut your mouth. I snapped, pointing a shaking finger toward the front door. This is my home too. You get out. You're telling me to get out? Chloe took a step towards me, ready to push. This is my brother's house, which means it's my house too. Who the hell do you think you are? That's enough. I took a step back before she could touch me, my back hitting the sharp corner of the entryway table. I gasped in pain. Just then, the lock on the front door clicked and Ethan walked in, holding his briefcase. What's going on? I could hear you shouting from the driveway. Ethan, you're home. I felt a surge of desperate hope. I grabbed the loan agreement and held it out to him, as if it were a lifeline. Your mother took my ID and forged my signature to make me the guarantor on an $800,000 loan for Chloe. Look at this. Ethan took the papers, his brow furrowing as he scanned them. But instead of looking at me, instead of showing the outrage I expected, he turned to his mother. Mom, why didn't you discuss something this big with me? If I discussed it with you, you'd drag your feet, Karen said, grabbing his arm. This apartment is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Chloe. We can't miss it. Your wife is just being narrow-minded. I try to explain it to her, but she won't listen. Ethan turned to me, his expression laced with annoyance. Sarah, can't you be a little more understanding? We're family. This is important for Chloe's future. The guarantee is just a formality. Do you really think we'd let them come after you for the money? A formality? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's not $100. Ethan, it's $800,000. Do you understand what that means? Of course I do, he said, tossing his briefcase onto the sofa. But Mom is doing this for Chloe. She's not a kid anymore. How is she supposed to get married without a home of her own? As her older brother and sister-in-law, we should be helping her. What's wrong with that? Helping her? I stared at him, at the man I had married. Suddenly, he felt like a complete stranger. You want me to help her by risking my credit, my future, my entire life? Ethan, you know I don't make a lot of money. If something goes wrong, we'll both be buried under that debt for the rest of our lives. What could go wrong? He snapped, his voice rising. Mom has some retirement savings, and if it really comes down to it, I'll find another way. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. You're just making things difficult for everyone. Chloe fanned the flames from the side. See, brother, she just can't stand to see me succeed. From the very beginning, Chloe, be quiet. Ethan yelled at her. Then he turned back to me, his voice suddenly soft, pleading. Sarah, please, I'm asking you. Let's just let this go. The papers are already drawn up. The signature is there. What's the point in fighting it now? I looked into his evasive eyes and a cold realization washed over me. You knew, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You knew about this all along, didn't you? He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. His silence was a confession. From the kitchen, the rich smell of pot roast filled the air, mingling with the sweet scent of the crushed strawberries on the floor. The combination made me sick to my stomach. I bent down to pick up one of the fallen berries. My fingertips came away sticky with red juice. It looked like blood. 3 years of marriage. For 3 years, I had woken up at 6 every morning to make breakfast. I came home from work and went grocery shopping to cook dinner. I spent my weekends deep cleaning the house. Karen always said a good wife had to be a good homemaker. Chloe bought designer bags and handed me the receipts. Ethan always said his sister was still young and that I should be more understanding. I had tried to save up for a small condo of our own. But Karen said that once you're married, there's no such thing as my money or your money. But I had never imagined they could be so cruel, that they would use my name to secure a debt so massive it could ruin me forever. I didn't sign this, I said, standing up straight. I folded the contract and put it in my purse. I will not accept responsibility for this guarantee. You won't accept it. Karen stood up, her face flushing with anger. The contract is already in effect. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. Sarah Hayes, listen to me carefully. Whether you sign it today or not, you will be the guarantor. I ignored her, grabbed my purse, and headed for the door. Ethan followed me, grabbing my arm. "Where are you going? It's late. Don't touch me," I said, shaking his hand off. As the elevator doors opened, I heard Chloe shout from inside the apartment, "Let her go. Brother, if she leaves our house, she'll starve." The elevator doors slowly slid shut. My reflection in the polished steel was pale, my eyes wide with a fear I had never known. The contract in my purse felt like a hot iron searing my skin. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling so much I could barely dial the numbers. Finally, I managed to call a familiar number. "Hello, Mom. Sarah. Honey. What's wrong?" My mother's voice, thick with sleep, came through the receiver. I opened my mouth to speak, but my throat was so tight that no words came out. A cold night wind swept through the apartment lobby, rattling the glass doors. I shivered, realizing I had run out wearing only a thin sweater. Goosebumps prickled my arms. "Mom," I finally managed to choke out, my voice breaking. "They want me to guarantee an $800,000 loan." "Slow down, sweetie. Just breathe." My mother's voice was a steady anchor in the storm raging inside me. "What happened with Karen? Tell me everything." I huddled on a cold bench behind a bus stop, the concrete leaching warmth from my body, under the weak glow of a streetlight. I recounted the whole story in a frantic, jumbled rushed loan agreement, Karen's dismissive words, Chloe's taunts, and Effen's final, devastating plea to just let it go. The wind snatched at my words, but my mother heard every single one. She understood the core of it instantly. "So," she said, her voice now sharp and clear, "they stole your driver's license and forged your signature. Is that right?" "Yes," I sniffled, wiping my nose with the back of my hand. "The signature on that contract, it's not mine. I didn't know anything about it until tonight." "Okay," she said after a few seconds of silence. "I've got it. Where are you right now? Don't you dare go back to that house. And don't just stand out in the cold. Find somewhere bright and wait for me. I'm coming to get you." 30 minutes later, my mother's white sedan pulled up to the curb. I scrambled inside, a wave of warm air from the heater washing over my face. The simple comfort of it made my eyes well up again. She handed me a thick fleece blanket from the back seat. As I wrapped it around my shoulders, I noticed the tip of a baseball bat poking out from under the passenger seat. I would learn later that in her rush to leave the house, worried that I might be in physical danger, she had grabbed the first thing she could find for protection. "Let's get some food in you first," she said, pulling away from the curb. She didn't mention the contract again. Instead, she asked, "Have you eaten dinner?" "No." She drove to a small, brightly lit dumpling house on a corner we both knew well. It was a place we'd gone to for years. She ordered 2 bowls of shrimp wonton soup and told the owner to add extra vinegar and cilantro, just the way I've liked it since I was a little girl. As the steaming bowls were placed on our table, my mother finally spoke, her voice low and serious. "Are you absolutely certain that the signature on that contract is not in your handwriting?" "Of course I am," I said, pushing a wonton around my bowl with my spoon. "I haven't even been to that bank. How could I have signed it?" "Then it's simple," she said, taking a careful sip of her soup. "Forgery of a signature and identity theft. Those 2 things alone are going to cause them a world of trouble." I stared at her, still lost in my panic. "But it's $800,000. Mom, what if the bank really makes me pay it back? Banks care about evidence. Sarah, they don't just enforce a contract because someone scribbled a name on it." She put her spoon down and pulled a small notebook and a pen from her purse. "Now, listen to me very carefully. You're going to do exactly as I say." The tip of her pen scratched against the paper. Under the dim restaurant light, I saw the silver strands in her hair shining. The lines around her eyes seemed deeper than they had last year. "First, tomorrow morning, you will go and make several copies of that contract, especially the signature page and the page with the copy of your license. Make multiple sets. Keep one in your desk at work. Put one in a box at the top of your closet back at our house. And email a digital copy to me and to yourself. Second, go back to the house just for a minute and check if your driver's license is back in your wallet. If it's not, you will go straight to the nearest police station and report it stolen. Tell them you suspect someone has used it for fraudulent purposes. Make sure you get a copy of the police report. Third, from this moment on, you will record every single conversation you have with them about this loan or the guarantee. Turn on the voice memo app on your phone and keep it in your pocket. Make sure they don't see it. I wrote down every word in my own small notebook, my hand feeling heavy, as if the pen weighed 1,000 pounds. Mom, isn't this a little too much? They're still Ethan's family. My mother looked at me, and her eyes held a mix of pity and frustration. Too much. Sarah, when the bank starts garnishing your salary and freezing your accounts, you can try telling them they're being a little too much. This isn't a small family squabble. This is an $800,000 pit they are trying to bury you in. Your entire future is at stake. The soup in my bowl was getting cold. The spoon in my hand felt too heavy to lift. Should I call the police on them now? No. She shook her head. Not yet. We wait. Just for 3 days. 3 days. My anxiety spiked. What if the loan gets approved and the money is dispersed in those 3 days? It won't be, my mother said with a mysterious little smile. One of my former students, a young man named Mark, works as a loan officer in the credit department of that very bank. I sent him a text on my way here. I told him, my daughter may have been a victim of identity theft related to a guarantee. I don't know the details, but if you see anything with her name on it, please look at it carefully. My eyes widened. Mark Peterson? The one who used to come over for your homemade dumplings when we were kids. That's the one, she said, wiping her mouth with a napkin. He's always been meticulous and a stickler for the rules. If he senses anything is off, he won't approve that loan easily. He'll put it on hold. At the very least, my mother had already thought of everything. I looked at her and was suddenly reminded of a time when I was little, when a neighbor's dog had chased me. My mother had hidden me behind her back and thrown rocks at the dog, even though I could feel her own body trembling with fear. What if Karen pressures me, yells at me to sign something else? You don't sign anything. Ever. My mother's voice was firm as steel. If she starts making a scene, you make an excuse and leave. Or better yet, just come and stay with me for a few days. And remember, no matter what she says, no matter how much she screams or cries, or even if she gets on her knees and begs, you do not let your heart soften. Not for a second. After we finished the soup, my mother drove me back to her old apartment, the one where I grew up. My room was still the same, with posters from my high school days on the wall and my old academic awards on the desk. She made my bed for me and placed a pair of scissors on the nightstand. Not for a fight, she explained, but in case I heard strange noises at night. She said I could use them to rip the bed sheets to make a loud noise, loud enough for the neighbors to hear and come help. As I lay in bed, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Ethan. Honey, please don't be mad. Come home. Mom said she was wrong. She promised to discuss everything with you from now on. I stared at the screen and let out a cold laugh. I pictured Karen's face as she'd pointed that fork at me, Chloe's smug expression as she ate her cherries. One typed a reply. I'm not coming back until this guarantee issue is resolved. He replied almost instantly. It's just a signature. It's not that serious. Don't you trust me? I didn't bother to write back. I put my phone on silent and turned over. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of sizzling in the kitchen. My mother was making fried eggs. When she saw me, she tilted the frying pan in her hand. You're up. Good timing. After breakfast, we're going to see someone. Who? An expert. We need someone to look at that contract and find any loopholes. She slid a perfectly fried egg onto a plate. I contacted a lawyer through a friend. His name is David Chen. He specializes in financial disputes. I clutched the copies of the contract in my hand. For the first time, a small bit of the crushing anxiety began to lift. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, falling onto the fried egg. The yolk gleamed like shattered gold. "Mom, do you really think this can be resolved in 3 days?" She poured me a glass of milk. Her glasses fogged up from the steam. "Even if it's not, it's okay. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up for you. If we have to, we'll go to court. The truth will prevail there." She paused, tapping my rice bowl with her chopsticks. "Remember this, Sarah. It's okay to have a soft heart, but you can't be blind. There are people worth compromising for. And then there are people who, if you take one step back, will push you right off a cliff." I poked at the egg yolk with my fork. A rich, savory taste filled my mouth, but it was mixed with something else. It was the taste of resilience. After breakfast, my phone rang again. It was Ethan. I declined the call. A text immediately followed. "Mom says if you don't come back, she's going to your office." I stared at the message. My fingers hovered over the screen. Then, I pressed the record button on my voice memo app and slipped the phone into my pocket. My mother saw me and smiled. "Let's go. Time to meet the lawyer. Some things you just can't avoid." Mr. Chen's office was in an old but respectable building downtown. The wooden floors creaked with every step. He took the copies of the contract, adjusted his black-rimmed glasses, and ran his finger over the signature line 3 times. "The forgery is quite obvious," he said, pulling out a magnifying glass. "Look here. The flow of the handwriting doesn't match the signature on your driver's license at all. Furthermore, a guarantee contract of this magnitude requires the guarantor to be present in person for the signing, often with video recording. There was clearly a procedural failure on the bank's part." My mother asked, "If the loan had actually been paid out, could we have recovered the money?" "Absolutely," Mr. Chen said, pushing the papers back towards us. "With identity theft and a forged signature, this contract is invalid from the start. What you need to do now is wait for the bank to contact you for verification. When they do, you simply state that you know nothing about it, and keep all your evidence safe." After leaving the lawyer's office, my mother dropped me off near my workplace. "You go to work like it's a normal day. I'll go to the police station to file the report for your stolen ID. Remember, no matter what scene Karen makes, do not engage. And most importantly, do not sign anything." "I will." I clutched the copied documents in my hand. The corners were already crumpled. At 3 in the afternoon, the call came. It was from the front desk, the receptionist's voice hesitant. "Ms. Hayes, there's a woman here to see you. She says she's your mother-in-law." My heart did a painful lurch. Karen had actually come. "Send her up," I said, taking a deep breath. I switched my phone to record mode and slipped it into the inside pocket of my blazer. Not 2 minutes later, the glass door to our office suite swung open. Karen was wearing a loud, floral print quilted jacket and carrying a cloth tote bag. The moment she stepped inside, she bellowed my name. "Sarah Hayes, you get out here right now." Every one of my colleagues stopped what they were doing. A sea of curious faces turned towards me. I stood up and walked towards the entrance. "Karen, if you have something to say, let's talk outside." "Outside? I'm going to say it right here." She slammed her tote bag on the floor. A few bruised apples rolled out. "Everyone, come and see. This is the wonderful, high and mighty daughter-in-law my family was blessed with. She eats well and lives well, but she won't even help her own sister-in-law who can't get married because she doesn't have a home. She refuses to sign a simple guarantee." My coworker, Amy, sitting at the desk next to mine, frowned. "Ma'am, what are you talking about?" "What am I talking about?" Karen leaned over my desk, her voice rising. "She's been married to my son for 3 years. We've given her everything. And now, my daughter just wants to buy a small condo. And all we asked was for her to co-sign a loan. Is that so wrong? It's only $800,000. For her, that's nothing. She's just selfish and cold-hearted." $800,000? A murmur rippled through the office. My colleagues started whispering amongst themselves. I clenched my fists. my nails digging into my palms. Karen, first of all, it's not nothing. It's $800,000. Second, a guarantee is a serious legal responsibility. And third, that contract was forged. I told you. I know nothing about it. Forged? What nonsense are you spouting now? Karen suddenly lunged forward, trying to snatch the papers on my desk. You're just making excuses. I'm telling you, if you don't come with me to the bank and sign a new one today, I'll die right here. She threw herself onto the floor and started slapping her thighs, wailing at the top of her lungs. Oh, my miserable life. I raised a son who doesn't appreciate me, and I got a daughter-in-law who despises me. Now she wants to kill me and my daughter by refusing to sign one little paper. The commotion brought my department head, Mr. Davison, running out of his office. He frowned, looking at the scene. Ma'am, please, let's talk about this calmly. You're disrupting our work. Calmly. Will she listen if I talk calmly? Karen wiped her face and then pointed a trembling finger at me. She looks down on us because we're not rich. She's mocking my daughter for not having a job. If she hadn't been so desperate to marry my Ethan in the first place, none of this would have happened. Watch what you say. I couldn't hold back anymore. When was I ever desperate? Since our marriage, I've given you my entire salary and done all the housework. I never once disobeyed you. And now, just because I won't sign this guarantee, I'm the villain? You were born a villain. Karen shrieked. She scrambled to her feet, grabbed the ceramic mug from my desk, and hurled it to the floor. It shattered with a loud crash, sending sharp pieces flying everywhere. My colleagues gasped and jumped back. Mr. Davison quickly stepped in front of her. Ma'am, if you continue this, I will have to call security. Call them. Go ahead. Call them. Karen's neck veins bulged. Let's see what they can do. Let's see if it's against the law for a daughter-in-law to refuse to help her family. Right at that moment, my phone rang. It was Ethan. I answered it and, right in front of Karen, put it on speaker. Sarah, did Mom go to your office? His voice was laced with frustration. Yes, she did. She's making a scene right now, I said, looking directly at Karen. Why don't you talk to her yourself? Karen snatched the phone from my hand. Ethan, you have to come here. Your wife is out of control. She won't sign, and she's having her co-workers bully me. Mom, just come home. Ethan's voice was tired, defeated. We can talk about this at home. I'm not leaving. If she doesn't sign, I'm not leaving. Enough. Ethan suddenly shouted. What good does it do to cause a scene there? Do you want Sarah to get fired? How does that help anyone? Come home. Now. Karen froze, stunned. She clearly hadn't expected her son to yell at her. She shot me a venomous look, then bent down to pick up her cloth bag. Sarah Hayes, you just wait. This isn't over. As she stormed out, muttering curses under her breath, I let out a long, shaky sigh. My back was drenched in a cold sweat. Mr. Davison patted my shoulder. Are you okay? If you need to, you can take the rest of the day off. Thank you, Mr. Davison. I'm fine. I bent down to pick up the broken pieces of my mug. Amy handed me a dustpan, whispering, Your mother-in-law is unbelievable. How could she ask you to guarantee a loan that big? I didn't say anything. I felt like a heavy stone had settled in the pit of my stomach. When it was time to leave work, I saw Ethan's car parked across the street from my building. I hesitated for a moment before opening the passenger door and getting in. I'm sorry about what my mom did today, he said, staring straight ahead. His tone was stiff. Is sorry all you can say? I turned to look at him. Ethan, it's $800,000, not 800. Are you just going to let your mother act like this? She's just doing it for Chloe, he said. His brow furrowed. Chloe is 25. How is she supposed to get married without a place of her own? We're her family. We should help. Helping is one thing. This is something else entirely. I raised my voice. Using my name for a loan this size Have you ever thought about the consequences? If she defaults, we'll be paying it off for the rest of our lives. She won't default. He cut me off, his voice sharp with irritation. Mom said the property value is going to increase quickly. If things get tight, we can just sell it and pay off the debt. And what if the value drops? What if Chloe doesn't make a single payment? I stared at him. Have you thought about that? He was silent, unable to answer. After a long moment, he finally mumbled, "You just think too much. You always assume the worst. We're family. I think too much." I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Ethan, put your hand on your heart and tell me, for the past 3 years, how have your mother and sister treated me? You know the truth. When have they ever treated me like family?" The car screeched to a halt at the side of the road. He turned to me, his eyes bloodshot. "So what do you want to do? You wanted to blow this up. You want the whole world to know about our family's problems? Your family is the one who created this problem," I said, unbuckling my seatbelt. "I will never, ever accept this guarantee. If you have any love left for me, any respect for our marriage, you will convince your mother to stop this madness." I opened the car door. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Sarah, I'm begging you. Just this once. Can you just help Chloe this one time? I promise. From now on, I'll listen to whatever you say." The streetlight cast a pale glow on his face. He looked so strange, so unfamiliar. This was the same man who had searched all over town for soup when I was sick. The same man who had stood up for me when a client was unreasonable. But now, in his eyes, I saw only his family. My pain, my fear, my humiliation, it was all invisible to him. "It's too late," I said, pulling my hand away. "Ethan, I don't think this is working." I turned and started walking in the direction of my mother's house. I didn't look back. Behind me, I heard the sound of a car horn, honking frantically, desperately. It sounded like a final, dying cry, but I knew I couldn't turn back, not a single step. When I arrived at my mother's apartment, she was in the living room, trimming the ends off a bundle of green beans. She saw the redness in my eyes but didn't ask a single question. She simply served me a bowl of hot beef rib soup she had just made. "Drink this while it's hot. You need your strength." I sipped the rich broth. Images flooded my mind, Karen shattering my mug, the strange looks from my colleagues, Ethan's voice telling me not to make a big deal out of it. A tear rolled down my cheek and fell into the bowl with a tiny splash. "Mom, am I being pathetic?" She put down the bean she was holding and gently stroked my hair. "Don't be silly. This is not your fault. Kindness without boundaries becomes a weapon others use to hurt you. What you're doing now is drawing a boundary. There is nothing wrong with that." She placed a large piece of meat into my bowl. "They might cause more trouble tomorrow. Don't be afraid. Mr. Chen said as long as we have the law on our side, no one can touch us." I nodded and took a bite of the tender meat. The savory flavor mixed with the saltiness of my tear. I felt a flicker of strength ignite within me. It was the strength that came from knowing I could not retreat any further. The next morning when I got to the office, I found Chloe sitting in my chair. She was fiddling with my computer mouse, a smirk on her face. "What are you doing here?" I frowned. She stood up, pulling a new fur-collared coat tighter around her. A gold necklace gleamed at her throat. "I came to give you some friendly advice. Sarah, stop fighting with my mom. If you just sign the guarantee, everything will be fine for everyone. And if I don't?" She laughed. From her designer purse, she pulled out a few photographs and scattered them across my desk. "Then I'll make sure everyone in your company sees these. How do you think your colleagues will react when they see what their prim and proper project manager used to be like?" The photos were from my college days, taken with my ex-boyfriend. The background was a secluded path on campus. We had been young and in love, and the pictures were intimate, full of innocent affection that could easily be twisted into something sordid. "Chloe, you are despicable," I whispered, my fists clenching. "Better to be despicable than a hypocrite like you," she said, leaning closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. And my mom said, "If you still refuse, she'll send these pictures to your parents. They deserve to know what their precious daughter was really like before she got married. How dare you?" I reached for the photos, intending to rip them to shreds. She suddenly let out a piercing shriek. "What are you doing? She's attacking me. Help!" My colleagues, drawn by the noise, started to gather round my cubicle, whispering among themselves. Chloe crumpled to the floor, clutching her stomach dramatically. "Ouch! My stomach! Why did you push me?" Watching her clumsy performance, a strange sense of calm washed over me. I took out my phone and made sure the voice memo app was still recording. I spoke in a clear, steady voice, just loud enough for everyone around to hear. "Chloe, first, I did not touch you. Second, you stole my personal photos to blackmail me. That is a crime. And third, that loan guarantee was created through forgery. I have already consulted a lawyer. What you and your mother are doing is illegal." She stared at me, dumbfounded. She clearly hadn't expected me to confront her so directly. You're lying." "Am I?" I said, gathering the photos from my desk. "I'll be submitting these to the police as evidence of your blackmail attempt. If you try to use them against me again, or if you dare to bother my parents, we can settle this in court." The whispers among my colleagues grew louder. "Blackmail? With photos? That's horrible." Chloe's face turned pale. She scrambled to her feet and shot me a hateful look. "You'll regret this," she hissed, before turning and practically running out of the office. Watching her retreating back, I let out a slow breath. Sunlight streamed through the office window, falling across my desk. I picked up my phone and sent a text to my mother. "Mom, I'm fine. They can't beat me." Her reply came back almost instantly. "Good girl. Remember, when you're dealing with a mad dog, you can't show fear. You have to be fiercer." I smiled and deleted the dozens of missed calls and pleading texts from Ethan. Some relationships are like expired milk. They might look fine on the surface, but they've already gone sour. Keeping them around will only make you sick. And I was done being sick. After Chloe left, I locked the photos in my desk drawer and backed up the new recording to the cloud. Amy came over and handed me a pack of tissues. "You were amazing, Sarah. If that were me, I would have been terrified." "What good would that do?" I said with a small smile. "Tears are useless against people like them." During lunch in the company cafeteria, my phone vibrated. It was a location pin from my mother. "This is the condo Chloe is trying to buy. I just got the information from the sales office." I clicked on the link. My stomach dropped. It was for a penthouse unit in a brand new luxury building downtown, Riverbend Towers. Construction had just finished. The average price per square foot was astronomical. Even the smallest units were well over $1 million. An $800,000 loan was only a down payment. "She's insane." I texted back, my fingers flying across the screen. A colleague sitting next to me noticed my expression. "Something wrong?" "Sarah, no, it's nothing." I quickly put my phone away, but a heavy feeling settled in my chest. What on earth gave Karen and Chloe the audacity to aim for something so far beyond their reach? Were they banking on Ethan's modest salary? Or did they see me, the guarantor, as a fat goose, ready to be plucked? I took a half day off that afternoon and went to the DMV to apply for a new driver's license, officially reporting my old one as stolen. Holding the temporary paper ID in my hand, I suddenly felt an urge to see Riverbend Towers for myself. Not because I was curious about how luxurious it was, but because I needed to understand what their real game was. The sales office was decorated like a palace ballroom. A slick salesman in a tailored suit glanced at my simple work blazer and immediately dismissed me, turning his attention to a wealthier-looking couple. I pretended to study the architectural model, positioning myself near to sales agents who were chatting quietly. Did they close the deal on that penthouse unit on the 32nd floor? The one the Miller girl wanted? One asked. Yeah, they put down the deposit yesterday. $500,000. But her mother said the loan hasn't come through yet. asked us not to say anything publicly. 500,000? Where did they get that kind of money? I heard the daughter doesn't even have a job. I don't know. Something about her brother and sister-in-law helping out. The sister-in-law, Sarah, I think, works an office job. Seemed really meek when she came in with them last week. Meek. I crumpled the glossy brochure in my hand and turned to leave. A $500,000 deposit. In 3 years of marriage, the total amount Ethan and I had managed to save was less than $50,000. There was no way that money was clean. Back at my desk, the uneasy feeling wouldn't go away. I searched for Chloe's social media profiles online. Her main account was private, but I found a clue in the likes of a mutual acquaintance. She had been in Macau last week. The location tag was a famous casino hotel. In one photo, she was holding a stack of poker chips, grinning. The caption read, "Big money. No whammies. Lady luck be mine." My heart sank into my shoes. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Karen wasn't just trying to buy her daughter a fancy apartment. She was using my good credit as collateral to cover their gambling debts. That evening, my mother made steamed fish for dinner. I told her what I had discovered. She paused, the chopsticks holding a piece of fish hovering in midair. I knew something was off. 800,000 is not a small sum. For them to be so bold, there had to be something more desperate going on. So what do we do now? My voice was edged with panic. If they really used that money for gambling and can't pay it back, the bank will still come after me, won't they? Let them come, my mother said, placing a piece of fish on my plate. Mr. Chen was clear. As long as we can prove they obtained the loan fraudulently and forged your signature, the debt will not be transferred to you. She paused, then opened a drawer and took out a small, discreet recording device. Tomorrow, I want you to go back to that house. I flinched. To the house? Yes. Tell them you've had a change of heart and want to talk seriously with Karen. That woman is bound to slip up and say something incriminating. Take this with you. I hesitated. What if they trap me there? What if they don't let me leave? They won't, my mother said, patting my hand. I'll go with you. I'll wait in the car downstairs. If you're not out in 30 minutes, I'm calling Mr. Chen and telling him to bring people over. I looked into my mother's determined eyes and nodded. It was time for me to take the offensive. I couldn't just keep letting them attack me. The next day, I sent a text to Ethan. I've thought about it. I'd like to come over tonight to talk about the guarantee. He replied immediately. That's great. I'll tell Mom to make your favorite pork and kimchi stew. I scoffed. His mother had never once made that dish for me. Whenever I mentioned wanting it, she would pout and say, "Pork is so expensive. Ethan prefers vegetables anyway." At 6 o'clock sharp, I arrived at the house. The savory smell of kimchi stew hit me the moment I opened the door. Karen emerged from the kitchen, wearing a fresh apron and a wide, fake smile. "Sarah, you're here. Come in. Come in. Dinner's almost ready." Even Chloe, for once, was pleasant, handing me a glass of water. "Sarah, I'm sorry about yesterday. I shouldn't have used those photos to threaten you." Ethan sat on the sofa, watching me. He looked like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. I took the glass of water, my hand shielding the small recorder I had already switched on in my sleeve. "Karen, Chloe, I've been thinking. I know you're doing this for the good of the family. I'm willing to consider the guarantee. But since it's such a large amount of money, I need to know exactly what the plan is." Karen's eyes lit up. She pulled me by the hand and sat me down on the sofa. "That's my girl. I knew you had a good heart. Let me tell you, this condo in Riverbend Towers is a fantastic investment. We can rent it out, and the monthly rent alone will be over $10,000. We'll pay off the loan in no time." "Really?" I feigned surprise. "But with an $800,000 loan, the monthly payments must be at least $5,000. The rent alone won't cover it." "That's because you don't understand high finance." Chloe jumped in. "I have a friend who says we can take out another loan against the property to invest. The money will grow with compound interest. We'll pay it back in a flash. What kind of investment makes money that fast? I asked innocently. Karen shot Chloe a sharp look, quickly cutting her off. She's just a kid. What does she know? Don't listen to her. We're just trying to buy a home. Plain and simple. Plain and simple requires an $800,000 loan. I took out my phone and showed them the photo of Chloe in the Macau casino. Or is this money for something else? Like gambling debts? Karen's face went white. Chloe shot up from her seat, trying to snatch my phone. You spied on me? I didn't spy. You posted it publicly for the world to see, I said, putting my phone back in my pocket. Karen, Chloe, if you're really in financial trouble, you should have just told me and Ethan. We could have tried to help, but you can't resort to these kinds of tricks. You can't gamble with my future. Who do you think you are? Lecturing me? Karen's friendly facade vanished in an instant. You have no right to meddle in our family's affairs. You will sign the papers today, or you are not leaving this house. She stood up and locked the front door. Ethan jumped up. Mom, what are you doing? What am I doing? She threw her apron on the floor. I'm going to show her that this family is not to be trifled with. From the kitchen, Chloe emerged holding a large chef's knife. The polished blade glinted under the living room lights as she pointed it at me. Sign it. Sarah, don't make us do this. My heart leaped into my throat. My fingers fumbled in my pocket for my phone, trying to send a text to my mom. Just then, the doorbell rang. Karen, are you home? I brought some dumplings. It was my mother's voice, clear and strong, from the other side of the door. Karen and Chloe froze. In that moment of shocked silence, Ethan lunged forward and wrestled the knife from Chloe's hand. Mom, this has gone too far. He rushed to unlock the door. My mother walked in. She took one look at the tense atmosphere knife on the floor. My pale face and her brow furrowed. What's going on? It sounded like you were fighting. It's nothing. Mom, I said, forcing a calm I didn't feel. We were just having a discussion. Karen shot me a glare but said nothing. My mother placed a container of homemade dumplings on the table. I made them with chives and eggs. Sarah's favorite. Ethan, you should have some too. Ethan didn't move, but Karen suddenly broke into a strained laugh. Eleanor, what a fuss. It's all my fault. I have such a short temper. Sarah, honey, I'm sorry about earlier. Please don't hold it against me. It's okay, I said, getting up from the sofa. Karen, I have to go now with my mom. As we walked out the front door, I heard Karen's voice behind me, sickeningly sweet. Sarah, come back tomorrow. I'll make you that kimchi stew. I didn't look back. I followed my mother down the stairs as fast as I could. It wasn't until we were safely in the car that I realized my palms were slick with sweat. The recorder was still in my sleeve. On it, I had captured Karen admitting she planned to take out more loans, and the terrifying sound of Chloe threatening me with a knife. Did you get it all? My mother asked. Yes, I nodded, my voice still shaky. I even got her talking about using the rent to pay off the loan. Her numbers didn't add up at all. Anyone who hears it will know she's lying. My mother started the car. Good. It's all evidence. When the bank calls, we'll be ready. The car window reflected the flickering city lights. I looked back at the familiar apartment building. Suddenly, it looked completely alien. The place I had once called home was nothing more than a trap, set by predators who wore the masks of family. The next 2 days passed in a strange, tense quiet. Karen didn't show up at my office again, and Chloe's threatening text stopped. Even Ethan fell silent. The silence was unsettling, like the calm before a hurricane. But my mother was unfazed. Don't worry, she said. They're waiting to hear from the bank. If the loan is approved, they'll become even more arrogant. If it's denied, that's when they'll really start to panic. Her prediction came true on Wednesday afternoon. I was in the middle of organizing a project file when my phone buzzed. The caller ID showed the official number for the bank. My heart leaped into my throat. I quickly excused myself and walked to the quiet of the emergency stairwell to take the call. Am I speaking with Ms. Sarah Hayes? A man's voice asked. It was professional, formal. Yes, this is she. Who is this? My name is Mark Peterson. I'm a senior loan officer in the credit review department at the bank. I'm handling the loan application submitted by Ms. Chloe Miller. He paused for a moment. According to the documents, you are listed as the guarantor for this loan. I'm calling to verify a few details. It's happening, I thought. I took a deep, steadying breath and said exactly what my mother had instructed me to say. Mr. Peterson, hello. I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with that matter. I actually just filed a police report yesterday for a stolen driver's license. The officer mentioned it might have been used for fraudulent activities. What kind of loan is this? There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. It's a personal mortgage loan for $800,000. Ms. Hayes, your name and a copy of your driver's license are attached to the guarantor agreement. He paused again. Are you saying you have no knowledge of this? None at all, I said, my voice firm and clear. I have never visited your bank, nor have I signed any guarantee agreement. Is it possible someone forged my signature? We are in the process of confirming that. Ms. Hayes, Mark's voice was unreadable, giving nothing away. Would you be able to come into the bank at your earliest convenience? We'll need to compare your handwriting and verify your identity in person. Yes, of course, I said quickly. I can be there tomorrow morning. Would 10 o'clock work for you? 10 o'clock is perfect, he confirmed, giving me the address of the bank's corporate office. When you arrive, please ask for me directly. Oh, and if you could bring your passport or another form of ID, along with the police report you filed, that would be very helpful. My hand was still shaking after I hung up. I immediately called my mother. After hearing the news, she let out a satisfied laugh. You did perfectly, Sarah. Just stick to the plan. I'll go with you tomorrow. And Mr. Chen will be there too. What if Mr. Peterson sides with them? Mom, I was still anxious. After all, they were the ones who went to the bank first. Don't worry, Mark is not that kind of person, my mother said, her tone reassuring. Besides, banks prioritize one thing above all else, risk management. For a loan of this size, if there's any question about the guarantor's identity, they have a much bigger problem than we do. The next morning, my mother, Mr. Chen, and I arrived at the bank right on time. Mark Peterson was dressed in a sharp suit and wore gold-rimmed glasses. He looked much more mature than the boy I remembered from my childhood. He led us into a private conference room and got straight to the point. Ms. Hayes, we've reviewed the security footage from the day the contract was signed. He began, his expression serious. The woman who signed as you was wearing a mask and a hat, so her face is not visible. More importantly, our preliminary analysis shows that the signature on the contract is inconsistent with the one on your official records. See, I said, placing my small audio recorder on the polished table. I told you I didn't sign it. Mr. Peterson, this is a recording of my in-laws admitting to the forgery and threatening me. Please, have a listen. The sharp, angry voice of Karen filled the silent room. If you don't sign, you are not leaving this house. Followed by Chloe's chilling words. Sign it. Sarah, don't make us do this. As the recording played, Mark's expression grew increasingly grave. When it finished, he looked at Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen, based on the evidence presented so far, it is clear there are serious issues with this guarantee agreement. We will be halting the loan approval process immediately and will hold the relevant parties accountable. Hold them accountable? I asked, a little stunned. What does that mean? Forgery and identity theft are grounds for criminal charges. Mr. Chen explained calmly. The bank has the right to report this to the police. If they do, Karen and Chloe Miller could face prosecution. My heart sank, not out of sympathy for them, but because I had never imagined things would escalate this far. My mother seemed to read my mind. She reached under the table and gently squeezed my hand, a silent signal to stay quiet and let the professionals handle it. Mark asked a few more questions, such as when I last saw my driver's license and whether Karen had access to my purse. I answered truthfully while Mr. Chen took notes. Before we left, Mark stood up and shook my hand. Ms. Hayes, please don't worry. We will investigate this matter thoroughly and swiftly. If the forgery is confirmed, your responsibilities as a guarantor will be nullified, and we will file a formal complaint with the authorities. Thank you, Mr. Peterson, my mother said with a warm smile. When you were a boy, your mother used to tell me how meticulous you were. She was right. A faint smile touched Mark's lips. You're too kind, Mrs. Hayes. I'm just doing my job. After all, you taught me in high school civics that rules are there for a reason. He then turned to Mr. Chen. As for the $500,000 deposit Ms. Miller paid to the developer, that was paid with their own funds and has nothing to do with my client or the bank. Mr. Chen interjected smoothly. You can proceed according to your standard protocols. Walking out of the bank, the bright sunlight made me squint. I took a long, deep breath. The heavy stone that had been crushing my chest finally felt a little lighter. Mom, is it really over? For now, she said, her expression still cautious. But a woman like Karen won't give up that easily. When she finds out the loan has been stopped and that she could be in legal trouble, there's no telling what she might do. As if on cue, my phone rang. It was Ethan. I hesitated for a second before answering. Sarah, were you at the bank? He demanded, his voice frantic. Mom just got a call. They said the loan is on hold. They're even threatening to call the police. What the hell is going on? What's going on? I let out a cold, bitter laugh. Why don't you ask your mother and your sister? They tried to commit fraud using a forged signature and a stolen ID. Now that they've been caught, who do they have to blame but themselves? Forgery. Ethan sounded genuinely shocked. But Mom said you agreed to it. I agreed to it? I was speechless for a moment. Ethan, do you still believe them? Even now, just think about it for 1 second. $800,000. How were they ever going to pay that back? If they couldn't, did you expect me to go to jail for them? He was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was small, broken. Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was this serious. Well, now you know, I said, taking a deep breath. Ethan, I want a divorce. I heard a loud clatter on the other end, as if he had dropped his phone. A few seconds later, his voice came back, thick with tears. Sarah, no, please don't say that. Just give me one more chance. I'll talk to them. I'll fix this. I promise. There's nothing to fix, I said, and hung up. My heart felt strangely calm. Some roads, once you take a wrong turn, you have to turn back immediately. You can't just keep going to the end. My mother put her arm around my shoulder. Are you sure? I'm sure, I said, looking up at the tall skyscrapers that pierced the sky. The past 3 years of my life felt like a long, suffocating dream. It was time to wake up. When I got back to the office, my colleagues looked at me differently. Not with pity, but with a kind of respect. Amy handed me a cup of hot milk tea. You're a rock star, Sarah, taking on your in-laws like that. I'm not a rock star, I said, managing a small smile as I turned on my computer. They just pushed too hard. The past was the past. I had to focus on the future. At 3 in the afternoon, another frantic call came from the front desk. The receptionist sounded terrified. Ms. Hayes, your mother-in-law is here again. This time she has a propane tank. She's saying she'll light it if you don't come down. My heart stopped. Karen had completely lost her mind. The files in my hand slipped and scattered across the floor. Amy's face went white. Sarah, call the police. Now. I will, I said, fumbling for my phone. My fingers were shaking so badly I could barely dial 911. Mr. Davison rushed out of his office. Sarah, go to the back exit and wait. I'll go down and try to calm her down. No, I said, my jaw set. If I hide, it will only make her more aggressive. Just then, my phone rang. It was Mr. Chen. I answered it like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. Mr. Chen, Karen is at my company with a gas tank. She's threatening to blow it up. Stay calm. Ms. Hayes. His voice was impossibly level-headed. I've already had my assistant contact the local police precinct. They should be there within 10 minutes. Remember, do not approach her. Do not argue with her. Let the police handle it. After hanging up, I took a deep breath and followed Mr. Davison to the lobby. From a distance, I could see Karen. She was sitting on the floor, clutching a rusty propane tank. Her hair was a mess, and her face was streaked with tears. A crowd of employees and clients had formed a wide circle around her, many holding up their phones, the flashes blinking. Sarah Hayes, you finally came out, she shrieked when she saw me, scrambling to her feet. Her hand was gripping the valve of the tank. You think you've won, don't you? You got the bank to stop my loan and made me a laughingstock. Karen, please, put the tank down, Mr. Davison said, stepping in front of me. Let's talk about this calmly. Don't get excited. Calmly. I have nothing to say to her. She slammed the bottom of the tank on the marble floor. The loud thud made everyone jump back. Sarah, listen up. Either you come with me to the bank right now and sign, or we all die here together. If I can't live well, you won't either. That's a felony, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Bringing a flammable explosive into a public building and making terroristic threats. Do you know how many years in prison that carries? I don't care, she screamed, ignoring me. She pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. This is a notice from the bank. They said there's a problem with the loan documents, and I have 3 days to submit a new signature, a handwriting analysis, and proof of income. Where am I supposed to get proof of income? This is all you're doing. I understood then. The bank was conducting a thorough investigation. Just as Mark had promised. They feared risk more than anything. The documents have problems because you forged the signature, I said, taking a half step forward. It's not too late to stop. If you turn yourself in now and tell the truth, the worst that will happen is the loan is denied, and you lose your $500,000 deposit. But if you open that valve, your life is over. 500,000, she started laughing. A wild, unhinged sound that turned into sobs. That was my life savings. I borrowed 300,000 from my sister and 100,000 from my brother to make that deposit. You made the bank stop the loan, and now all that money is gone. How am I supposed to live? A new wave of murmurs went through the crowd. So she did forge the signature. A $500,000 deposit? What nerve? Karen's face flushed red, then went pale. She pointed at me, her voice cracking. This is all your fault. If you had just signed the guarantee, none of this would have happened. You unlucky bitch. First you ruin our family. Now you want to destroy us completely. Just then, the sound of sirens grew louder. Closer. 3 police cars screeched to a halt in front of the building. 6 officers got out, quickly dispersing the crowd and setting up a police line. The lead officer raised a megaphone. The person inside with the propane tank, put it down and come out with your hands up. Karen's legs suddenly gave out. She slumped to the floor, still clutching the tank, muttering, "My money, my house." 2 officers approached her slowly. Seeing she was distracted, they moved in swiftly, wrenching the tank from her grasp and twisting her arms behind her back. She screamed and struggled. "No, I need to talk to Sarah Hayes. It's her fault." As the police dragged her away, she twisted her head to look at me one last time. Her eyes were filled with a poison that could kill. "Sarah Hayes, I will haunt you even as a ghost." I watched as they put her in the back of a police car, the siren wailing as it pulled away. Only then did I realize my shirt was completely soaked through with sweat. Mr. Davison put a hand on my shoulder. It's over now. Sarah, take a few days off. You've earned it. Thank you. I nodded. My legs felt weak, like they were about to buckle. Amy rushed over and helped me stay upright. The long, terrifying battle was over, but the war had just created its first true casualty. Back at my mother's apartment, I locked myself in my room. I couldn't get the image of Karen, clutching that propane tank, out of my head. Her venomous glare was burned into my memory. My mother knocked on the door for a long time before I finally opened it. She came in with a glass of warm honey water and set it on my desk. I just got a call from Mr. Chen, she said softly. Karen has been detained for endangering public safety. They're holding her for at least 15 days while they investigate. Detained. I mumbled. The word felt hollow. There was no sense of victory, no triumph, just a vast, empty exhaustion. What about Chloe? Chloe went to the police station and caused a scene, demanding they release her mother. The police told her the evidence was overwhelming and bail was out of the question. My mother sighed. She apparently made a few threats against you and was given a stern warning by the officers. I sipped the honey water. My hands were still trembling. Mom, was I too harsh? Harsh? My mother cut me off. She brought a bomb to your workplace and threatened to kill you and your co-workers. And you think you were being too harsh? Sarah, mercy shown to a wicked person is a knife you hand them to stab you with. If you had backed down today, she would have shown up with a real knife tomorrow. As we were talking, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Sarah, it's me. It was Chloe. Her voice choked with tears. My mom, she's been arrested. Can't you go to the police and say it was all a misunderstanding? Please, I was wrong. We don't need the condo anymore. We don't need your guarantee. Just please, tell the police to let my mom go. Chloe, I said, looking out the window at the darkening sky. I'm not the one who had her arrested. She broke the law. She threatened the safety of dozens of innocent people. If you want her to get out, tell her to cooperate with the investigation and repent for what she's done. So you're not going to help. Her tone changed in an instant. The fake sorrow replaced by familiar venom. Fine. You just wait. Sarah Hayes, my brother won't let you get away with this. Let him try, I said, and hung up. My heart felt cold as ice. All this time, Ethan hadn't called me once. He was probably blaming me for blowing things up, for not quietly swallowing the poison his family was trying to feed me. Sure enough, less than 10 minutes later, a call came from Ethan. His voice was a mixture of exhaustion and fury. Sarah, are you satisfied now? My mother is in jail. She may be wrong, but she's still my mother. For my sake, can't you just go to the station and withdraw the complaint? Withdraw the complaint? I laughed, the sound brittle and sharp. Ethan, do you have any idea what your mother did today? She came to my office with a propane tank and threatened to blow everyone up. Innocent people could have been killed. This is no longer a family squabble. This is a criminal case. I know she was wrong, but she was just desperate. He shouted into the phone. That $500,000 deposit was her entire life savings, plus money she borrowed from all our relatives. Now the money is gone and she's in jail. How is she supposed to live? And what about me? I couldn't hold back my own anger any longer. When she tried to saddle me with an $800,000 debt, did you ever stop to think about how I was supposed to live? When she threatened to blow up my office, did it ever occur to you that I could have died? Ethan, is your heart made of stone? He was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and defeated. I never thought it would go this far. Sarah, I'm begging you, just this once. Please, help my mom. I can't, I said. Then I cut the call and blocked his number. Some hearts could not be warmed. Some loyalties were not worth preserving. The next morning, Mr. Chen sent me a text. The bank had officially filed a criminal complaint, accusing Karen and Chloe of loan fraud. Furthermore, The development company for Riverbend Towers had sent a notice of breach of contract, stating that the $500,000 deposit was now non-refundable. I read the message and felt a profound sense of calm. You reap what you sow. They had brought all of this upon themselves. In the days that followed Karen's arrest, my office was buzzing with gossip. Some people whispered that I was cold-hearted for sending my own mother-in-law to jail. Others said I did the right thing, that you couldn't be soft with people like that. I didn't bother to explain myself. The truth would come out eventually. On Friday afternoon, I was writing up an incident report about Karen's disturbance when Ethan appeared at the entrance to my office. He was wearing a wrinkled shirt, and there were dark circles under his eyes. He looked haggard. "Sarah, can we talk?" The eyes of all my colleagues immediately swiveled in my direction. I nodded, stood up, and walked out of the office. He followed me to the emergency stairwell, his footsteps heavy. Once we were alone, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. His eyes were bloodshot. "Sarah, my mom is having a hard time in there. She's not eating. She's not sleeping. Please, just tell them." "No," I said, pulling my hand away. "Ethan, have you still not realized? This is beyond my control. She is paying the price for her own actions. I know she was wrong," he said, suddenly slumping to the floor and burying his head in his hands. "But she's my mom, my only mom. Sarah, I'll get on my knees. I'm begging you. Please, for my sake, don't do this." I took a step back. "I can't help you, and I won't. When she was threatening to kill me with a propane tank, why didn't you feel sorry for me then?" He looked up, a tear tracing a path through the stubble on his cheek. "I was at the police station then, trying to get her out. I didn't know she was going to your office. Sarah, does our 3 years of marriage really mean nothing to you?" "Marriage?" I laughed without humor. "Ethan, honestly, in the last 3 years, how many times have you truly stood by me? When your mother bullied me, you looked the other way. When your sister stole from me, you said she was just a kid. Now that their plan to ruin me has backfired, you want me to forgive them?" He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "I want a divorce," I said, pulling the prepared divorce papers from my purse. "I don't want anything from you. I'll leave with just my personal belongings. Please, just sign this and stop harassing me." He stared at the papers, then suddenly jumped to his feet and ripped them into shreds. "No, I won't sign it. Sarah, give me one more chance. I'll cut ties with my mom and my sister. We can start over. Please, it's too late," I said, looking at the scattered pieces of paper on the floor. "Ethan, some things, once they're broken, can never be put back together." When I returned to my desk, Amy handed me a cup of warm coffee. "Wow, your ex-husband has no spine. How could he just kneel like that?" "It's not about having no spine. It's about being selfish," I said, taking a sip of the coffee. "He's not doing it for me. He's doing it for himself. He's scared of his mother going to prison, scared of the shame it will bring on him. That's why he's begging." That afternoon, just as I was packing up to leave, the receptionist called again, her voice on the verge of tears. "Ms. Hayes, Chloe Miller is here again. She's saying if you don't come down, she's going to take off her clothes and run around the lobby." I clenched my fist so hard my knuckles turned white. This family had a real talent for public humiliation. "Let her," I said, my voice cold as ice. "Call security and keep clients away from her. If that doesn't work, call the police." Less than 5 minutes later, Amy came running towards my desk, out of breath. "Sarah, she actually did it. She's topless and making a scene in the lobby. When security tried to stop her, she lay on the floor and started screaming that they were sexually assaulting her." A surge of hot anger rushed to my head. I grabbed my bag and headed for the lobby. Mr. Davison was already there, his face grim as he spoke into his phone. "Yes, that's right. Yesterday it was the mother with a propane tank. Today it's the daughter creating a public indecency scene. This is severely disrupting our business. Please come quickly." When Chloe saw me, she scrambled up from the floor and ran towards me, barefoot. "Sarah Hayes, you evil woman. Because of you, my mom is in jail and my $500,000 is gone. I'm going to kill you." She was wearing only pants. Under the bright lobby lights, her pale skin was jarring. I instinctively closed my eyes. Mr. Davison and a few male colleagues rushed forward to intercept her. She shrieked and cursed, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. "Hold her down. The police are on their way," Mr. Davison shouted. Just then, Chloe stopped struggling. She slumped to the floor and began to cry hysterically. I didn't want to do this. My mom told me to. She said if I made a big enough scene, Sarah would get scared and help us. Everyone in the lobby froze. The air grew thick with a stunned silence. I opened my eyes, looking at her pathetic, shivering form on the floor. I felt no satisfaction, only a deep, bone-weary fatigue. The police arrived quickly. They covered her with a jacket and led her away. Before she was taken out, she turned and looked at me. Her expression was a complex mixture of hatred and something that looked almost like regret. When I got home, my mother had already prepared dinner. She saw the exhaustion on my face, but didn't ask about the details. She just placed a bowl of warm soup in front of me. "Drink this. Warm yourself up." I sipped the soup. I remembered when I had just gotten married. Karen had served me soup once, too. "Sarah, we're a family now," she had said. "We have to help each other." Back then, like a fool, I had actually believed we could be a family. Now I knew the truth. Some people never see you as family to begin with. You are only a resource to be used. "Mom," I said in a low voice. "Chloe was arrested too." "I know. Mr. Chen just called," my mother said, placing a piece of meat in my bowl. "Public indecency and obstruction of business. He said she'll likely be detained for a few days as well." "Could they actually go to prison?" I asked. My mother sighed. "Loan fraud, endangering public safety, obstruction of business, with all those charges combined, it's possible they could face several years." I fell silent. It was what they deserved. But thinking of Ethan, a corner of my heart felt a strange pang of sorrow. No matter what, we had been husband and wife once. He must be in unbearable pain right now. The next morning, as I approached my office building, I saw him. Ethan was huddled by the main entrance, looking small and defeated. His eyes were red and swollen, and it was clear he hadn't slept. When he saw me, he scrambled to his feet. "Sarah, my sister was arrested too. Please, you have to." "No." I cut him off, my voice devoid of any warmth. "Ethan, if you have any shred of self-respect left, stop coming here. Instead of harassing me, you should be thinking about how to clean up the mess your mother and sister have made. Think about how you're going to repay the hundreds of thousands of dollars you owe your relatives. Think about how you're going to live your life from now on." I walked past him and into the building. The automatic glass doors slid shut behind me. In their reflection, I saw his lonely figure slump back down onto the cold pavement. I knew then, with absolute certainty, that this was the end. At 10 o'clock, I received an unexpected call from Mark Peterson at the bank. "Ms. Hayes, I wanted to give you an update. Our bank has officially transferred all evidence to the district attorney's office. Also, something else has come up. It seems a few loan sharks from a casino in Macau have been making inquiries. They came to one of our branches looking for Ms. Chloe Miller. It appears she owes them over $300,000. My blood ran cold. Loan sharks? She took money from them too? "Yes," Mark said, and I could hear a sigh in his voice. "It seems that of the $500,000 deposit, $300,000 went to paying off her gambling debts. The remaining $200,000 was what she used for the actual deposit. Now that the deposit is forfeited and she still owes the loan sharks, well, it seems that family is truly finished." After hanging up, I stared out the window. The sky was a dull, uniform gray, threatening rain, and I realized with a sudden Chilling clarity how a person's greed and foolishness could drag an entire family into an abyss. I was just lucky that I had managed to cut the rope before they pulled me down with them. For days after Chloe's arrest, I was in a department meeting when the receptionist burst in, her face pale. "Ms. Hayes, there's a group of about half a dozen older women in the lobby. They're holding signs, shouting that you're an ungrateful daughter-in-law and demanding to see your manager." Mr. Davison frowned. "Is it Karen Miller's family again?" "Yes. The woman leading them says she's Karen's younger sister, a woman named Emily," the receptionist said, handing him a photo she'd snapped with her phone. In the picture, several women in loud, floral print blouses were blocking the building's entrance, holding up crudely made signs that read "Shameless daughter-in-law sends mother-in-law to jail." Passersby were stopping to stare and take pictures. I gripped the pen in my hand so tightly I thought it would snap. "Mr. Davison, please continue the meeting," I said, my voice steady. "I'll go down and handle this." "I'm coming with you," he said, standing up. "This has become a company matter. I won't let you face this alone." When we reached the lobby, the first thing we heard was Emily's shrill, booming voice. "Everyone, come and see. This company employs a woman named Sarah Hayes. She looks decent on the outside, but inside, she's a viper. Her mother-in-law asked for a tiny favor, to co-sign a loan, and for that, she had her thrown in jail. She even got her own sister-in-law arrested. This company needs to fire this heartless woman immediately." A few of the other women started chanting along with her, banging their fists on the glass doors. The security guards tried to hold them back, but they were being pushed back by the sheer force of the angry group. "Emily, that's enough," I said. I stood at the top of the short flight of stairs leading down into the lobby. My voice wasn't loud, but the chaotic lobby fell silent. Emily spun around, her sharp eyes fixing on me. Well, the main actress finally makes an appearance. "You listen to me. Sarah Hayes, either you get my sister and my niece released today and pay our family $10 million in compensation, or we will be here every single day to make your life a living hell. We will make sure you can never work here again. Release them?" I let out a cold laugh. "Your sister brought a propane tank here and threatened to blow the building up. Your niece stripped in the lobby and caused a public disturbance. They were arrested by the police according to the law. What does that have to do with me? If you feel so wronged, go make a scene at the police station. Go protest at the courthouse. What good does it do to cause trouble here? Don't you dare lecture me." Emily spat on the floor. "If you had just signed the papers, would my sister have had to commit a crime? Would my niece have been arrested? The $10 million, you will pay it." The crowd of onlookers started murmuring again. Some were filming with their phones. Mr. Davison quickly instructed the security guards to try and disperse the crowd. "Please, everyone, don't believe her. There are other circumstances here." "What circumstances?" "The circumstance is that Sarah Hayes is a monster." Emily suddenly lunged forward, trying to grab my hair. Mr. Davison stepped between us, blocking her. Seizing the opportunity, she threw herself onto the floor and started wailing. Just like her sister. Assault. A company manager is assaulting a poor old woman. "Everyone, look at this." Just then, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. My mother and Mr. Chen got out. My mother was wearing a crisp trench coat, and she held a large manila envelope. Mr. Chen carried his briefcase, his expression stern. "Emily, isn't it?" my mother said, standing over her. "That talent for making a scene seems to run in your family." Emily, momentarily stunned, scrambled up from the floor. "And who are you?" "I'm talking to my niece-in-law. This has nothing to do with you. I am Sarah Hayes' mother, Eleanor Hayes," my mother announced, her voice ringing with authority. She pulled a stack of documents from the envelope. "You wanted to talk about right and wrong? Good. I've brought some evidence. Let's all have a look and see who is truly unreasonable here." She held up the first document. This is the handwriting analysis report from the bank's forensic unit. It proves that the signature on the guarantee contract was a forgery. My daughter knew nothing about it. Then she held up the small audio recorder. And this is a recording. On it, your sister and your niece admit to stealing my daughter's ID, forging her signature, and threatening her life. Would anyone like to have a listen? A wave of shock went through the crowd. Someone shouted, "A forged signature? That's fraud. No wonder they got arrested. Serves them right." Emily's face went from red to white. She lunged for the documents, trying to rip them from my mother's hand. "Lies. It's all fake. Mr." Chen caught her wrist in a firm grip. "Ms. Emily, destruction of evidence is a criminal offense, and we have already called the police, with charges of defamation and obstruction of business. You'll be joining your sister in a holding cell." Right on cue, the wail of sirens echoed in the distance. Emily's body trembled, and the signs she was holding scattered to the floor. The other women with her, seeing that the situation had turned against them, started to sneak away into the crowd. "No one is leaving, Mr. Chen said, his voice sharp, stopping them in their tracks. "The police are here. You can all give your statements at the station." Emily collapsed onto the floor, watching as the police began to question her friends. She let out a mournful cry. "Karen, I'm sorry." My mother gathered the scattered papers and patted my hand. "It's okay now, Mr. Davison let out a long sigh. "Eleanor, thank you so much for today." "It was nothing," my mother said with a small smile. "I couldn't just stand by and let my daughter be bullied like this." When I got back to my desk, the way my colleagues looked at me had completely changed. There was respect, sympathy, and most of all, understanding. Amy brought me a warm cup of tea. "Your mom is a superhero, Sarah." The look on those women's faces when she pulled out that evidence, priceless. I held the warm cup in my hands, a feeling of warmth spreading through my chest. Yes, with my mother by my side, I felt like I could overcome anything. Later that afternoon, Mr. Chen sent a text. Emily and her friends had been charged with conspiracy to obstruct business. They were detained for 5 days and each fined $2,000. He also confirmed that the district attorney's office had formally accepted the bank's complaint. The trial was scheduled for early next month. I looked at the message and felt a sense of peace. What was meant to happen would happen. There was no avoiding it. There was only facing it. When it was time to go home, my mother was waiting to pick me up. There was a slice of my favorite strawberry shortcake sitting on the passenger seat. She didn't mention the day's events. Instead, she said, "Your father's birthday is next week. Let's go back to our hometown and see him." "Okay," I nodded. "And while we're there, I'll tell him about the divorce." "Good," my mother said, her hands tightening on the steering wheel. "When your father finds out how that boy Ethan treated you, he'll probably want to break both his legs." I smiled. The heavy stone in my heart finally felt like it was dissolving. The day before we were scheduled to leave for my hometown, I received a summons from the court. It was a formal notice to appear as a witness in the state's case against Karen and Chloe Miller. Mr. Chen told me all I had to do was tell the truth and present my evidence. I didn't need to worry about anything else. "Will Ethan be at the trial?" I asked. "Most likely," Mr. Chen said after a brief pause. "He may be called to testify for his mother and sister. You should be prepared for that." "I understand," I said, and hung up the phone. I felt nothing. Whatever he chose to do now, it had nothing to do with me anymore. When we arrived in my hometown, my father was waiting for us on the porch. The moment he saw me, his eyes grew misty. "Sarah, you've lost so much weight." "I'm okay, Dad," I said, hugging him tightly. It was only then that I noticed how much more his back was stooped. My mother explained everything to him. My father slammed his hand on the dining table in anger. "That family, they're not even human. An $8,100,000 guarantee? How could they even think of such a thing? Sarah, you must divorce him. You must. There's no need to be married into a family like that." The process has already started. Dad, I said, serving him a bowl of chicken soup. Don't be angry. They're not worth it. During the 3 days we spent at home, my father cooked all my favorite dishes. My mother took me to visit our relatives, explaining the situation to them. They were all furious on my behalf, telling me I had done the right thing. Sarah, from now on, you need to keep your eyes open and find someone who will truly cherish you. My aunt said, holding my hand, we may not be rich, but living a peaceful life is the most important thing. I know. I nodded, my heart full. The day we returned to the city, I got a call from Mark Peterson as soon as I stepped off the train. Ms. Hayes, the bank just received a recommendation for mediation from the court. It seems Karen and Chloe Miller want to reach a settlement with you. A settlement? I was stunned for a moment. What kind of settlement? According to their lawyer, if you agree to drop the forgery charges and agree to be responsible for half of the forfeited deposit, they will withdraw they will stop harassing you. Mark's voice was tinged with disbelief. Frankly, it sounds like they're completely delusional. They are, I said, laughing. Please relay my response. Tell them there is absolutely no chance. I will not be dropping any charges, and I will not be paying a single cent of their losses. The debts they owe to the bank, to their relatives, to the loan sharks, they can figure out how to pay them back themselves. After I hung up, my mother shook her head. They know they can't win, so they're trying to drag you down with them. They can't pay back that deposit, so they want to make you share the burden. I'm not that foolish anymore, I said, picking up my suitcase. Let's go home. Mom, on the day of the trial, Mr. Chen and I arrived at the courthouse right on time. Karen and Chloe were already in the defendant's box, dressed in drab prison jumpsuits. Their faces were sallow. Their hair was limp and lifeless. They were almost unrecognizable from the arrogant, well-dressed women they had once been. Ethan sat on a bench behind them, wearing an ill-fitting suit that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in weeks. He avoided my gaze. The trial began. The prosecutor methodically presented the evidence, the fraudulent guarantee agreement, the forensic handwriting analysis, the security footage from the bank, Karen and Chloe's own contradictory statements during interrogation, and of course, my audio recordings. The evidence was a mountain, solid and immovable. Karen's defense attorney tried to argue that it was all a simple misunderstanding, a case of a mother's momentary lapse in judgment, that there was no malicious intent to defraud. But faced with the mountain of evidence, his arguments sounded weak and hollow. When it was my turn to take the stand, I calmly recounted the entire sequence of events, from the discovery of the contract to the threats with the knife and the final, terrifying incident with the propane tank. I submitted the audio recorder and the police report for my stolen ID as evidence. Suddenly, Ethan shot to his feet. Objection. Your Honor, he called out, his voice cracking. Sarah Hayes is not telling the truth. She knew about the guarantee from the beginning. She only changed her mind later and is trying to frame my mother and sister. Mr. Miller, I said, looking directly at him from the witness stand. Do you have any proof to support that claim? He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He just stood there, his face flushed with shame and desperation. Mr. Chen stood up. Your Honor, the defendant's family member is making baseless accusations without a shred of evidence. I request the court to admonish him. The judge banged his gavel. Mr. Miller, please control yourself. You will not make unsubstantiated claims in this courtroom. Ethan sank back into his seat. Defeated, he bowed his head low, hiding his face in his hands. The trial lasted for 3 hours. In the end, the judge declared a recess and announced that the verdict would be delivered at a later date. As we were leaving the courtroom, Ethan suddenly blocked my path. Sarah, can we please talk? There's nothing to talk about, I said, trying to walk around him. Sarah, I was wrong. I was so wrong, he said, grabbing my arm. My mom and sister, they deserve to be punished for what they did. I don't blame you. But please, can we not get a divorce? I'll make it up to you. I'll do anything. Make it up to me." I looked at him, at his tired, broken face. "How, Ethan? With the mountain of debt your mother and sister have accumulated? Or with your incurable, spineless devotion to them? Our marriage was over a long time ago." I pulled my arm free from his grasp and walked away with my mother and Mr. Chen. The sunlight in the hallway was bright, and for the first time in months, my heart felt light. A week later, the verdict came in. Karen was found guilty on multiple counts, including aggravated fraud and making terroristic threats. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison and ordered to pay a hefty fine. Chloe was found guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud and obstruction of business. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison. When I read the verdict, I didn't feel the rush of joy I had expected. There was only a quiet sense of peace, a feeling that the world had finally righted itself. A few days later, I got another call from Mark Peterson. "Ms. Hayes, just wanted to let you know, we received a payment of $800,000 from Ethan Miller. He sold his house to cover part of the loan he was co-signed on with his mother. But of course, with interest and penalties, there's still a significant amount outstanding." "He sold the house?" I asked, momentarily stunned. "Where is he living now?" "I heard he's renting a small studio apartment. He's working 2 jobs, trying to pay back the money his mother borrowed from your relatives," Mark said with a sigh. "In a way, you almost have to feel sorry for him. His life has been completely ruined because of his mother and sister. A pitiful person often has a detestable side," my mother said, overhearing my conversation. "If he had stood up for Sarah from the beginning and stopped his mother, things would never have gotten this bad." I didn't say anything. My feelings were a complicated tangle. Perhaps Ethan's fate was sealed from the start. His weakness and misguided filial piety had not only hurt me, but they had ultimately destroyed him as well. The divorce proceedings went smoothly. When Ethan signed the papers, his hand trembled uncontrollably. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with a deep, bottomless regret. "Sarah, take care of yourself. You too, Ethan," I said. I took my copy of the papers and turned away without looking back. Walking out of the county clerk's office, the sun was warm on my skin. I took a deep breath. Even the city air smelled sweet. My mother came over and handed me a newly printed document. It was a copy of my records, showing I was single again. "Now," she said, beaming, "you are just Sarah Hayes, an independent woman." I looked at the word divorced on the paper and smiled. "Yes, I am Sarah Hayes, an independent woman." The past was the past. The road ahead was mine to walk, and I would walk it with my head held high. The first weekend after the divorce was finalized, I was at my mother's house, packing up my belongings to move into a small studio I had rented, when my phone rang. The call was from the correctional facility. "Am I speaking with Sarah Hayes?" A woman's voice asked. "This is the warden's office. Chloe Miller has been emotionally unstable since her sentencing. She insists she has something important to say to you. Would you be willing to come for a visit?" I froze. My mother, who was folding my clothes, frowned. "Don't go, Sarah. Nothing good can come of it." "I want to go," I said after a moment's hesitation. "I need to put a final end to this." My mother sighed. "All right, I'll go with you." In the visitor's room at the prison, a thick pane of glass separated us. Chloe was wearing a standard issue orange jumpsuit. Her hair was cut short and uneven, and her eyes were red and puffy. The arrogant, entitled girl was gone, replaced by a hollowed-out shell. The moment she saw me, she flew into a rage, slamming her fists against the glass. "Sarah Hayes, you bitch. You ruined my life." "I ruined your life?" I looked at her calmly. "Chloe, be honest with yourself. Who was the one who used a stolen ID to apply for a fraudulent loan? Who was the one who threatened me with a knife? Who stripped in a public lobby? You and your mother brought this all upon yourselves." "My mother?" She let out a hysterical laugh that quickly turned into a sob. "That woman is an idiot. She actually believed that if we got the loan, we could buy a penthouse, I could marry a millionaire, and all our problems would be solved. And look where it got us. She's in prison, and she dragged me down with her. So now you're blaming her, I said, my voice even. When she stole my ID, why didn't you stop her? When she told you to come to my office and make a scene, why didn't you refuse? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. After a long moment, she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. I just wanted a nice apartment. Is that so wrong? My brother is useless. He can't make any real money. And my mom said the only way we could get the loan was if you guaranteed it. Wanting a home isn't wrong, I said, cutting her off. But you can't achieve it through illegal and immoral means. You're an adult now. Chloe, you have to take responsibility for your actions. You have 5 years in here. I hope you use that time to reflect on what you've done. Reflect on what? Screw you, she screamed, her face contorting with rage. Sarah Hayes, I swear to you, I will never forgive you. The day I get out of here, I will find you, and I will get my revenge. Do as you please, I said, standing up. I only came here to say one thing. As of today, there are no more debts between us. Live your life, and I will live mine. Walking out of the prison, the sunlight was blinding. My mother put her arm around my shoulder. Don't let her words get to you. She's just lashing out in anger. I know, I said, and smiled. It doesn't bother me anymore. A few days later, Amy sent me a video link. It was a short clip, apparently filmed by a guard inside the prison and leaked online. It showed Chloe and Karen, separated by a chain-link fence in the prison yard, screaming at each other. Chloe was calling Karen an idiot, and Karen was calling Chloe an ungrateful child. The video ended with both of them being dragged away by guards. What a strange family. Amy texted with a facepalm emoji. It's like they still don't get what they did wrong. Some people never change. I texted back with a sighing emoji. But in my heart, I felt at peace. Their fate was sealed, and it was a fate of their own making. At the end of the month, my paycheck came in. I took the money I had saved and put a down payment on a small but cozy one-bedroom condo of my own. It wasn't large, just over 500 square feet, but it had large windows that let in plenty of light and a small balcony that overlooked a green park. My mother came to help me move in. Looking around the freshly painted apartment, she smiled. It's beautiful. Sarah, this is your new sanctuary. Yes, I said, hugging her tightly. Thank you for everything. Mom, don't be silly, she said, patting my back. What are mothers for? All you have to do now is live well. That's the best thank you I could ask for. On the day I officially moved into my new home, I invited Mr. Davison and Amy over for a small housewarming dinner. Mr. Davison brought a potted plant, a resilient-looking snake plant. Like this plant, Sarah, he said with a warm smile. May you continue to thrive, no matter the conditions. Amy gave me a set of luxurious skincare products. Okay, girl, she said, giving me a hug. From now on, it's all about loving yourself. No more letting anyone hurt you. I looked at them, my heart full of gratitude. Yes, the world had cruel and selfish people like the Millers, but it was also filled with so much warmth and kindness. 3 months after I moved into my new condo, my hard work and professionalism at the company were recognized. I was promoted to senior project manager, a position that came with a significant raise. My salary went from $4,000 a month to $6,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was more than enough to live comfortably and securely on my own. That evening, to celebrate my promotion, I took my parents out to a nice restaurant. My father, after a glass of wine, got a little emotional. His eyes were misty as he looked at me. Sarah, I used to worry so much about you, that you were too soft for this world. But I was wrong. My daughter is all grown up. You can take care of yourself now. Dad, I could always take care of myself, I said, smiling as I placed a piece of grilled fish on his plate. I was just foolish before. I thought that if I just endured and compromised, everything would be okay. The only result was that I was the one who got hurt. The past is in the past, my mother said, pouring me a cup of hot tea. You have a long, bright future ahead of you. After dinner, while my father was paying the bill, my mother spoke to me quietly. Sarah, there's something I need to tell you. Ethan has been calling me lately, asking how you are. He says he wants to get back together with you. Get back together? I was stunned for a second, and then I started to laugh. Is he crazy? Does he really think I would willingly jump back into that fire pit? That's what I told him. My mother said with a sigh. He says he was wrong, that he's cut ties with his mother and sister, and that he'll dedicate his life to making it up to you. Cut ties? I scoffed. How? Can he really just ignore the mountain of debt his mother and sister racked up? The money from selling the house was just a drop in the bucket, and even if he could pay it all back, I would never get back together with him. Some wounds, once they're inflicted, never truly heal. My mother nodded. I know, sweetie. I just wanted to let you know so you could be prepared. Don't worry, Mom. I smiled. My heart isn't that soft anymore. A few days later, the call came. It was Ethan. His voice sounded worn out, heavy with a fatigue that went bone deep. Sarah, I know I was wrong. I know I don't have the right to ask for your forgiveness, but I still. Ethan. I cut him off, my voice calm and firm. We are divorced. From now on, we walk our own separate paths. Please don't call me again. Don't ask about me. Just focus on paying off your debts and living your life. Before he could say another word, I hung up and blocked his number again. This time for good. Some people, some things, you have to cut them out completely. Holding on only brings more pain. At the end of the year, at our company's annual party, I was chosen to give a speech as the Employee of the Year, standing under the spotlight, looking out at the familiar faces in the audience. I was suddenly reminded of the person I was when I first joined the company. Timid, insecure, always afraid of making a mistake. Back then, I tried to please everyone, to compromise, to endure. The only result was that I had erased myself. The woman standing on the stage now had learned how to say no. She had learned how to protect herself. She had learned how to live for herself. And in doing so, her life had become calmer, happier, and more fulfilling than she had ever imagined. When my speech was over, the room erupted in applause. Mr. Davison gave me a thumbs up, and Amy made a heart shape with her hands. I smiled, my heart overflowing with gratitude. After the party, Mr. Davison called me over. Sarah, I have something to discuss with you. The company is planning to open a new branch in the city's tech district. I've recommended you for the position of head of operations. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Me, Mr. Davison. Am I qualified for that? Why wouldn't you be? He smiled. Everyone has seen what you've accomplished this past year. You're efficient, responsible, and you have a will of iron. I have no doubt you can handle it. Thank you, sir, I said. So moved I was at a loss for words. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Don't thank me, he said, patting my shoulder. You earned this. Go for it. I'm expecting great things from you. When I got home, I told my parents the good news. They were even more excited than I was. Sarah, that's wonderful, my father exclaimed. I'm so proud of you. My mother immediately started planning. The tech district is quite a commute. You should move there. The environment is better, and it's a great area for young professionals. Watching my parents bustle around, already planning my next chapter, I felt a deep, comforting warmth. Yes, when you work hard and live for yourself, life has a way of surprising you with unexpected gifts. In the new year, I moved to the tech district and started my new life and new job. My new colleagues were friendly, and the work was challenging and rewarding. On weekends, I would meet up with Amy for shopping or movies, or visit my parents. Sometimes, I would just enjoy my own company. taking long walks in the park or reading a book at home, savoring the peaceful solitude. Life was calm and full. I had almost forgotten about the Millers and the terrible things that had happened. Then one day, I saw a small news report online. It said that Karen Miller had caused trouble in prison and was now in solitary confinement. Chloe Miller had been involved in a fight with another inmate and had her sentence extended by another year. Reading the news, I felt nothing. No pity, no satisfaction. Perhaps that was the ending that suited them best. Another half a year passed. At an industry seminar, I met a man named Daniel. He was a graphic designer, gentle, witty, and easy to talk to. We hit it off immediately and exchanged numbers. He started asking me out for dinner, 2 art exhibitions. He knew about my past, but he didn't care. The past is the past, he said. What matters is the here and now, and the future. When I was with him, I felt relaxed and happy. He respected my opinions, supported my career, and encouraged me when I felt tired. One day, he said to me, "Sarah, being with you makes me incredibly happy. Will you be my girlfriend?" I looked into his sincere eyes, smiled, and said, "Yes." Our relationship was wonderful. He introduced me to his parents, who adored me, calling me a smart and capable young woman. A year later, Daniel proposed. On a beautiful, sunny afternoon, he got down on one knee with a ring and said, "Sarah, I may not be the most perfect man in the world, but I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the perfect man for you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my face as I looked at him. I nodded. Yes. Our wedding was small but warm. My parents sat in the front row, their faces beaming with joy. Mr. Davison and Amy were there, giving us their heartfelt blessings. Life after marriage was peaceful and blissful. Daniel was incredibly kind, always putting me first. We cooked together, took walks together, and planned our future together. Every day was sweet. Sometimes, I would think of Ethan. I heard he was still working odd jobs, struggling to pay off his family's debts, but I felt nothing for him anymore. His life was no longer my concern. After everything I had been through, I finally understood. The most important thing in a woman's life is not to marry a rich man or to live a glamorous life. It is to know how to love herself, how to protect herself, and how to cut her losses. When you meet the wrong person, you must have the courage to walk away. Don't let misplaced sentiment ruin your life. When you encounter difficulties, don't be afraid. Believe in yourself and in the good people around you. There is always a way out. Life is like a mirror. If you smile at it, it smiles back. If you cry, it cries too. Instead of complaining, it is better to change. Instead of suppressing yourself, it is better to live brilliantly. I hope that every woman in the world comes to realize this. You are worthy of being loved, and you are worthy of a better life, as long as you work hard and live for yourself. Happiness will always find you, often when you least expect it.